Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at understanding the differences between our traditional and model mode in this training module. Now, we're going to be exploring these two topics because this is one of the very first things we really have to decide in order to program and set up our Link G5 or G4X systems. Are we going to be tuning in traditional mode, which is a injection time-based model, or are we going to be tuning in the model mode, which is going to be volumetric efficiency air mass base calibrating and tuning? They're very unique in terms of how they work and how they calibrate. So we want to make sure we're picking the correct one, because if you switch it, it's going to require retuning a lot of the fuel tables, main fuel table, a lot of the sub compensation tables. It's important that we know which one we want to work with first so we can choose that, and then we can set everything else up based on that model mode that we're working with or traditional mode. All right, let's jump in here and take a look at first where we're going to be selecting and setting up traditional or model mode. And then we're going to break down understanding the key details, the bigger picture of what these both represent. Now, we are going to be using the Excel spreadsheet calculator that I provided in the training course folder. If I go ahead and minimize this real quick and we jump in here, I actually have that calculator open here. We're going to take a look. I have this open on my desktop, G5 course packet, and then we can find in here G5 Master Training Course Calculator. That's what I do have open, and we'll be looking at this in this training module to get a better idea as to what's going on with this. I find it a little bit easier to describe things using the calculator and being able to just demonstrate a few different key details here as we're discussing the model and the traditional mode. Let's jump back in here to our G5 software. Okay. So we are on the basics page in the layout I provided with the training course. We've talked about this layout and what it represents. This is what I'm going to be using throughout the entire training course. So on the basics page, I have everything that is going to give us the essential details for calibrating and tuning the very basic programming parameters. These are going to be things like our injector latency and short pulse width data. That goes with the injector characterization. We have our ignition coil dwell. So this is going to be specific to the coils that we're using, so we can command the dwell properly so we get proper spark. We're going to be setting up things like our number of cylinders and our firing order. Then we're going to find we have an area here, fuel main. This is where we set up our fuel details. So if we look at the injection mode, we have some options in here. We have single point group, multi-point group, sequential, group stage, sequential staged, direct injection port. Right now, just to illustrate this and just keep it as simple as possible, we're going to grab sequential style injection. This is typically what you're going to select with the Link. Very rarely you'll be going in and selecting some of these other options. We will have a dedicated tutorial talking about all of the options in here. What I want to focus on now is our fuel mode that we're going to be working in, either traditional or model mode. All right, let's click OK here so we get something to get going with the tutorial. Okay, now we can see within our fuel main area here, we have fuel equation mode. Here, we're either going to be choosing traditional or model. Now, we also have a third option, model multi-fuel. What this is going to allow us to do is in the model or volumetric efficiency based calibrating and tuning option, we can work with flex fuel, which is the multi-fuel option. We're just going to be discussing traditional model for right now. When we get into setting up flex fuel and doing all of that, we'll talk about the model multi-fuel and how to configure and set all that up so you have things properly dialed in for a flex fuel based tune. For right now, let's focus on just talking about, again, traditional model. I'm going to select traditional here, click OK, and now we're going to be left with all of the programming details that we find down here below. Now, I am not going to get into every single detail in this training module. I want to have the bigger picture taken away here so you understand the key differences between the traditional and model mode. When we're talking about our traditional option here, we are going to find that we are working in an injector pulse width based model. What does that actually mean? Well, it's a pretty simple calculation that goes on here. We're going to find that we have our main fuel table. So if we bump in here to our fuel page, this is our main fuel table. We can see it's based on manifold gauge pressure versus, in this case, engine speed. This is the traditional way we'll find the tables configured. Now the values in the table are going to be a percentage. We can see here fuel table percent. This percentage that's populated in the table at any given cell point is going to be used in the equation to calculate an injector pulse width in the traditional mode.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.